20th century? Answer is almost nil. So this is this story, how the science in Punjabi University, how is science in Punjab. Science has existed in Punjab for thousands of years because after all it is a place of Indus Valley civilizations. So without knowledge being used for development of a society and competing with the rest of the world, trading with the rest of the world, etc., etc. So science has been there for a long time. But in contemporary 20th century or 21st century globalized world, science and scientists means people who publish in science journals, which started to make their appearance few hundred years ago, 300-400 years ago. Most of the current day science journals are less than 200 years old. So science has been disseminated, read, understood, progress through publishing in the science journals is not very good. And in Punjab, obviously, we did not have science journals in the 19th century. So I have said that today's talk commemorates 200 birth anniversary year of Swami Dayananda. So Swami Dayananda, to the Arya Samaj and the DAV people, we all know that his writings influenced thinkers and philosophers all across the world. He also gave the call for Swaraj in the form of India for Indians. So Lokmanya Tilak picked it up and made it a part of India's freedom struggle. Dr. Radhakrishnan, he said that Swami Dayananda is one of the makers of modern India. This is his comprehension of Swami Dayananda. And we are all aware that the reforms enshrined in the Indian Constitution, large number of them had been inspired by the teaching of Swamiji. But what is his real direct contact with promotion of science education per se and the topic of today's talk? So if you go to Punjabi University, the first science block is the chemistry block, and that is named as Pandit Guru Dutt Vidyarthi block. And Guru Dittamal Sadhana, this is his name at birth. He was a disciple of Swami Dayananda. And he didn't live very long. He just lived for only 26 years. But all of us who are familiar with the evolution of Arya Samaj in Punjab knows the standing and the aura of this young person as a thinker, Arya Samaj leader, social reformer, etc., etc. I'm convinced that he belongs to the set of people like Swami Vivekananda. So, Swami Vivekananda, his name at birth is Narendranath, born in 1863, same age, 1863-64. Vivekananda lives up to the age of 39, 1902, but Guru Dutt was born when he was just 26. So he wrote many books. In fact, he was a class 12 student when he started to edit Regenerator of Aryavrat. Okay. He was writing books, he was a journalist, he was interacting with the society and propagating what Swami Vivekananda wanted. And Swami Vivekananda had of course formed Arya Samaj in 1875, but he was gone by 1883. So, after Swami Vivekananda, the person who spreads the message of using education, our ancient past, as a source of inspiration and development and building the modern nation. All that initiation is done by Guru Dutt Vidyarthi. So Guru Dutt Vidyarthi initiated Arya Samaj Science Institute and the Skill Development Center in April of 1884. He was born in 1864. So he is a 20-year-old kid, still studying in the college himself, creates the Science Institute and the Skill Development Center. He had raised money for creating the Skill Development Center, imported equipment from England, and on the day the Arya Samaj Science Institute was inaugurated by his professor, Professor J.C. Oman, he himself demonstrated all these electrical equipment as how various gadgets work, how they can be used for electrification, etc., etc. So all this was done by him at the age 20. So scientific temper, science education, practical aspects of science, all that we owe it to Guru Dutt Vidyarthi. He also was the first Punjabi to join as an assistant professor in physical sciences in Government College Lahore. Soon after he had completed his MA in physical sciences in the year 1886. So first faculty member of Government College Lahore in science was also Guru Dutt. And he had legendary classmates. He was not just alone, he was a spy, but around him were many more very bright people, not as tall as Guru Dutt, but in his class were also Ruchi Ram Sani. There have been an event in this hall celebrating Ruchi Ram Sani only some months ago, organized by Arun. So Ruchi Ram Sani was his classmate. Hans Raj, the first principal of DAV High School and also later the principal of DAV College, Lahore, was also in his class. Lala Lajpat Rai, later on the famous Lala Lajpat Rai, was also his classmate, and it is Guru Dutt who had inducted Lajpat Rai into the Arya Samaj. So this should give you an idea of how great a persona Guru Dutt was. His name, as I told you at birth, was Guru Ditta. Guru gifted by the God. This is how his parents saw him when he was born after a lot of difficulties. So it is Guru Ditta. Guru Ditta becomes Guru Datta, and we have forgotten our heritage of Punjab. So, if you, in the chemistry department, in small corner of it, it's hardly visible. Okay, there is a plaque which says, born in Multan, an alumnus of Punjab University, topped in intermediate, BA and MA examination. Established first science institution in Lahore on April 12, 1884. Appointed assistant professor in 1886. Became the first Indian to be designated as a senior professor of science in the country in 1887. An illustrious Indologist, erudite Vedic scholar, social reformer, noted philosopher with an unmatched memory. His memory matched only that of Vivekananda. So you can see how many things rolled into one. He was. Blended Western science and technology with ancient Indian culture. He is the first man to set up the first skill development center, which of course didn't run for many years, but he did try, and for that he didn't seek money from anyone. He collected money from the public and did all that. So this is his classmate, Ruchi Ram Sani. So he was born as Rochi Ram Sani. So alias later on is known as Ruchi Ram Sani. Rochi becomes Ruchi, as the teacher gave him that name. So he was influenced by Brahmo Samaj, whose mentor was Dayal Singh Majeetia. So Ruchi Ram Sani remained a Brahmo, whereas Guru Datta had changed from the influence of Brahmo Samaj to Arya Samaj during the school. And coincidentally, Guru Datta and Rishi Ram, they were both together in a school from class 6 to 8, in Adhiwal. After that they got separated and then they did high school from different places and then get together once again as they enrolled into the Government College Lahore in January of 1881. So I had got a stamp released to commemorate 150th birth year of Ruchi Ram Sani in 2013 on the premise that the Government College Lahore had been started in January of 1864. So something like 2014 was completion of 150 years of higher education in Punjab. So in order to make people aware of the contributions of persona like Ruchi Ram Sani, he lived long enough. He was born in 1863 and he lived up to 1948, that is across the independence of India. So the unfished agenda of Guru Dutt was carried across the independence of India by his classmate and childhood friend Ruchi Ram Sani. So Arya Samaj Science Institute was created in 1884, but the Punjab Science Institution came into being in 1885. It was set up by Professor J.C. Oman and Ruchi Ram Sani together. Actually, it is J.C. Oman who was an Indologist. He was not a professional science teacher. An Indologist was appointed as the first science teacher in Government College Lahore in 1877. And he was an Indologist. He was asked to teach physics and chemistry to his class 11 students. And so he is learning science himself first. So he learned science himself. He used to set up demonstration to inspire the other young students to take interest in learning science. So that is how he managed to inspire these two bright kids, Guru Datta and Ruchi Ram Sani, to learn science seriously and deep enough that they can become the propagators of it as the time would come by. So the Punjab Science Institute was set up in 1885. Guru Dutt had got a job as an officer in the Indian Meteorology Department in 1885. He leaves Lahore, goes to Calcutta. In Calcutta, he sees the Indian Association of Cultivation of Science, which was set up by Dr. Mahendra Lal Sarkar. This is that famous institute of Calcutta, where C.V. Raman later on worked from 1907 onwards and goes on to win the Nobel Prize in Physics for India in the year 1930. So Ruchi Ram Sani had become familiar with Indian Association of Cultivation of Science during his 3-month stay in Calcutta from January to March of 1886. This is at that time he had come in contact with also the J.C. Bose, Jagdish Chandra Bose, the first scientist of India who made a mark globally. And we are well aware that how he did not go on to win the first Nobel Prize for India for the demonstrating the wireless communication in Calcutta in as early as 1896. That is 4 years before even the Nobel Prizes were instituted. Long stories, but very interesting to know if you have time and interest. Anyway, so Ruchiram Sani had seen how the science was being done, being propagated in Calcutta. He comes back and he knew that Guru Dutt had started the Arya Samaj Science Institute, wasn't making much progress because Guru Dutt's interests were diverse, After setting up this Arya Samaj Science Institute, he had got interested in creating a DAV school first, high school, then DAV college, and so on. So his interest had drifted, though he was formally teaching in Government College Lahore, but he was spending his time somewhere else. So Ruchiram Sani and this J.C. Oman, they create this Punjab Science Institute, which continues for 15 years. And it is on behalf of the Punjab Science Institute that Ruchiram Sani had given. He used to give this public lecture one every week, maybe more than one every week, travel all across Punjab. And that is how he is known as the popularizer of science education in Punjab, per se. Later on, the Indian scientific community recognizes Ruchiram Sani as a mentor of his son Birbal Sani and Shantisu Bhatnagar, a chemist. Birbal Sani was a botanist. So Birbal Sani was the first botanist to be from India to be elected Fellow of the Royal Society. Bhatnagar was the first chemist from India to be elected Fellow of the Royal Society. So the Indian scientific community or the world at large knows Ruchiram Sani as a mentor of Birbal Sani and Shantisu Bhatnagar. So Ruchiram Sani, as I told you, was a multi-talented personality and the skill development. You see, Guru Datta had started this skill development on behalf of the Arya Samaj Science Institute, which didn't run very much. So as the time went by, Ruchiram Sani established the what is called the Victoria Diamond Jubilee Technical Institute in Lahore in the year 1897. So the English had established an engineering college in Bombay called VJTI, Victoria Jubilee Technical Institute, to commemorate the Golden Jubilee of Queen Victoria. That was colonial government, but here the people of Punjab, led by Ruchiram Sani, they created an institute on their own, entirely on their own, which is the Victoria Diamond Jubilee Technical Institute, and this is the precursor of McLagan College or the present day Punjab Engineering College Chandigarh. So beginnings of all these things have got made just before the end of the 19th century. Ruchiram Sani also went on to work later, close to his retirement, in the laboratory of Lord Rutherford, worked in radioactivity. Rutherford, got the Nobel Prize for radiochemistry. And after coming back from the Rutherford's lab in 1916, it is Ruchiram Sani who said that the postgraduate students in science must have some exposure to research. So people should not get a postgraduate degree in science without doing some bit of research. So this is again a thought which goes to Ruchiram Sani, and this is close to the end of the Second World War. So Ruchiram Sani Ruchiram Sani and Guru Dutt were the only two persons who had obtained an MA in science in the 19th century. They did that in 1885 and 1886. For next 15 years, nobody did post-graduation in science. So when the 20th century comes, there were 15 colleges which were affiliated to Punjab University at Lahore, but only two students had done a post-graduation in science. So naturally, there is no scientific research in the sense that can be designated as a scientist till the end of the 19th century. So all the scientists, Punjabi scientists that I shall talk or make you a little bit familiar with, are all 20th century only. It's none in the 19th century. So there is something called Indian Universities Act 1904. This is an act which the Lord Curzon brought out for the then 5 universities of India at the beginning of 20th century, which said that universities must employ teachers who will teach postgraduate students and also engage postgraduate students in research. So this is a diktat which came only at the beginning of 20th century. Prior to that teachers must engage in research was not a concept propagated in India at all. Okay, so it's only in the 20th century the science as an organized pursuit, science as something which can promote innovations, bring about development, and eventually the self-reliance. Notion self-reliance is not there in the beginning of 20th century when it is said that the universities must employ teachers who have the potential to guide research. So the idea that there should be a science and technology based development and a self-reliance for India as a nation, there was no nation at that time, but even India as a society, that is not there until one reaches close to the Indian independence period. That is about 10 years before the Indian independence period, when the Second World War happens in Europe. So the idea of, we have just finished commemorating 75 years of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and our science festival today is a part of a new series of science festivals which are being promoted by Government of India in the Amrit Kal. So the idea is this process of development and innovation which has gone on for the first 75 years of independence, that must be accelerated so that